Ambassador Sarah Chen stood at the observation window of the Intergalactic Alliance's Grand Chamber, watching the swirling nebula outside that served as the backdrop to humanity's most crucial diplomatic moment. Her reflection showed none of the anxiety she felt. 20 years of diplomatic service had taught her to maintain an impassive expression even when facing potential catastrophe. "They've already decided," her AI assistant, Arya, whispered through her neural implant. Analysis of Alliance members' trading patterns over the last 6 months suggests they've been preparing for this. Sarah's lips barely moved as she subvocalized her response. "And we've been preparing longer." The Grand Chamber itself was a testament to alien architectural philosophy, a massive amphitheater carved from living crystal, where representatives of 500 spacefaring civilizations gathered to shape galactic policy. The crystalline structures pulsed with bioluminescent light, a display that would have once left humans awestruck. Now it just seemed pretentious. High Chancellor Kvax, a towering figure with iridescent scales and compound eyes, rose from the central podium. 6 of their auxiliary arms held ceremonial staffs, while their primary arms gestured for silence. The chamber's ambient hum faded to stillness. "We have concluded our deliberations regarding Earth's petition for full membership," Kvax announced, their translator converting the clicks and whistles into standard galactic. "After careful consideration of humanity's developmental trajectory and potential impact on galactic stability, we must deny this petition." Sarah didn't flinch. Neither did her fellow human representatives. They had known this was coming for years. Furthermore, Kvax continued, "The Alliance has deemed it necessary to implement regulatory oversight on human expansion. All future colonial endeavors must be approved by the Alliance Council. This is for the greater good of galactic stability." Several Alliance members nodded in agreement. Humans were too unpredictable, too quick to innovate, too dangerous to be trusted with unrestricted growth. Sarah had heard these arguments in private chambers for years. She stepped forward, her quantum weave suit adjusting seamlessly to her movement. "High Chancellor, distinguished members of the Alliance, Earth thanks you for your candid assessment." Her pause was perfectly timed, just long enough to draw attention, but not long enough to be considered disrespectful. "However, before you formalize this decision, Protocol 7B of the Alliance Charter requires you to hear a formal response. Would you grant us this courtesy?" Kvax's scales flickered with annoyance, but Alliance law was clear. "Granted, Ambassador Chen. Though I fail to see what difference it will make." Sarah smiled, activating her neural implant's broadcast function. "Computer, execute Protocol Omega. Authorization, Chen Alpha 001. The chamber's holographic displays flickered, then erupted with new data. Trade routes, resource calculations, technological patents, and economic projections filled the air around them. "What you're seeing," Sarah explained calmly, "is humanity's contribution to the Alliance over the past 50 years. 15,000 technological patents, 37 major trade routes established, and economic growth that has benefited even the most distant Alliance worlds." She paused, letting the data sink in. "What you're about to see is what happens when you remove all of that." The displays shifted, showing economic projections that made several Alliance members gasp. Kvax's scales turned a pale shade of gray. "You see," Sarah continued, "we anticipated this decision. Humans are good at pattern recognition. It's one of those dangerous traits you fear so much. For the past decade, we've been gradually building redundancies into our systems, preparing for independence." She gestured, and new data appeared, showing massive construction projects in unexplored space, alternative trade routes, and technological developments that had been kept carefully hidden from Alliance oversight. As of this moment, Earth is withdrawing from all Alliance treaties and agreements. We've already established the foundation, an alternative cooperative of worlds that believe in innovation rather than stagnation. And before you consider any hostile action, she smiled again, this time allowing a hint of steel to show through. You might want to check who else is withdrawing their membership today. The chamber erupted in chaos as notifications began flooding in. 12 major worlds, all announcing their withdrawal simultaneously. Worlds that had been quietly courted by Earth's diplomatic corps for years, waiting for this moment. This isn't a rejection response, Sarah announced over the growing pandemonium. This is a declaration of independence. Humanity doesn't need your permission to grow. We never did. We simply chose to give you the chance to be part of it. She turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and High Chancellor? Those regulatory oversight protocols you mentioned? You might want to check your enforcement capabilities. You'll find most of the ships you were counting on are currently being recommissioned under Foundation authority. As Sarah led the human delegation out of the chamber, she allowed herself a small smile. Centuries of human science fiction had imagined humanity being rejected by advanced alien civilizations. None had predicted that when it finally happened, humanity would be the one holding all the cards. Arya, she sub-vocalized, send the signal. It's time to wake up all those sleeping shipyards. Let's show the galaxy what unrestricted human innovation really looks like. Behind her, the Alliance's carefully ordered world was already beginning to crumble. Ahead lay something new, something that embraced change rather than feared it. Humanity had been preparing for this day for a very long time. And they were just getting started. Dr. Maya Rodriguez stood in the control center of humanity's best-kept secret, watching as quantum displays showed the final calibration sequences of Project Aurora. Deep within an artificial planetoid in unexplored space, 30 years of human ingenuity was about to change everything. Final systems check complete, announced Dr. Kang, her chief engineer. Quantum matrices are stable. Dimensional anchors are holding. We're ready for the first full-scale test. Maya nodded, her augmented eyes scanning through layers of data. After the diplomatic break with the Alliance 3 months ago, the Foundation needed this to work. They had kept Aurora hidden for good reason. It wasn't just a technological advancement, it was a paradigm shift. Director Chin is online, her assistant reported. The Foundation Council is standing by. The main screen activated, showing Sarah Chen's familiar face. The former ambassador, now director of the Foundation, looked as composed as ever. Dr. Rodriguez, I trust we're ready for something spectacular? If by spectacular you mean breaking several laws of physics that the Alliance thinks are immutable, then yes, Maya replied with a grin. Aurora is ready. Though I still think naming it after an Earthlight show was a bit on the nose. Sometimes the old names are the best ones, Sarah smiled. Proceed when ready. Maya turned to her team, scientists and engineers from 24 former Alliance worlds who had chosen to believe in human potential. Initialize the Aurora field. Let's rewrite the rules of space travel. The planetoid's massive power cores hummed to life. In the test chamber, a small probe sat ready, surrounded by arrays of technology that the Alliance would have declared impossible. They had good reason. By their understanding of physics, it was impossible. Field stability at 100%, Kong reported. Quantum coherence holding steady. Ready for transmission. Maya took a deep breath. This was it. The moment that would justify humanity's confidence in breaking from the Alliance. Execute Aurora Protocol. Primary test sequence, initiate. The probe in the chamber began to glow with an otherworldly light. The Aurora field wrapped around it, bending space in ways that made watching it directly uncomfortable. Then, in a flash of prismatic energy, it vanished. Probe successfully transmitted, Kong announced, his voice tight with excitement. Receiving telemetry from the target location. Now. The screens lit up with data from a 5,000 light-years away. The probe had arrived instantly, perfectly intact. Not faster than light travel, the complete elimination of space between 2 points. By all the stars, Sarah whispered. You actually did it. Maya allowed herself a moment of pride. The Alliance built their empire on controlling FTL travel through jump gates. They thought they had a monopoly on interstellar transport. But they never imagined someone would find a way to simply step between stars. The implications were staggering. The Aurora system required far less energy than conventional FTL, could be used anywhere, and couldn't be blocked or controlled by external forces. The Alliance's carefully maintained trade routes would become obsolete overnight. How soon can we begin installing the system on Foundation ships? Sarah asked. We've already started, Maya revealed, gesturing to another screen showing construction yards hidden throughout unexplored space. The beauty of Aurora is its simplicity. Once you understand the principles, implementation is straightforward. We can have the first fleet equipped within months. And the Alliance? Won't even know what they're looking at until it's too late. Their sensors aren't designed to detect quantum dimensional manipulation on this scale. By the time they figure it out, we'll have changed the galaxy's entire transportation infrastructure. Sarah's expression was thoughtful. The Foundation worlds are already causing economic tremors in Alliance space. Once Aurora goes online, their entire economic model collapses, Maya finished. Their power is built on controlling the spaces between stars. We're about to make those spaces irrelevant. Throughout the facility, celebrations were beginning as the test results were confirmed. But Maya kept working, her augmented vision already calculating the next series of improvements. The Alliance had rejected humanity for being too innovative, too quick to advance. Send the activation codes to all Foundation shipyards, she ordered. It's time to show the galaxy what unrestricted human innovation can really achieve. As the orders went out, Maya watched the quantum displays showing the probe's perfect transmission. The Alliance had thought they were containing a potential threat by rejecting humanity. Instead, they had removed the last restrictions holding human advancement in check. Dr. Rodriguez, Sarah said quietly, I believe you just changed everything. Maya smiled, watching as more test probes prepared for transmission. No, Director. We're just getting started. The real changes are yet to come. In the depths of unexplored space, humanity's secret weapon hummed with potential, ready to reshape the galaxy. The aurora was rising, and with it, the dawn of a new age in human history. The Alliance had feared human innovation. They were about to learn that their fears had been far too small. The spaceport on Nexus Prime buzzed with activity that would have been impossible 6 months ago. Ships of all designs and origins filled the docking bays, sleek human vessels alongside the organic curves of Zywanry bioships and the crystalline structures of Meridian traders. Above them all, the Aurora transmission arrays pulsed with quantum energy, sending ships instantly across vast distances that the Alliance still struggled to traverse. Fleet Admiral James Torres watched from his command center as another group of refugee ships arrived from Alliance space. How many this week? He asked his XO, Commander Diana Patel. 15 more worlds have applied for Foundation membership, Diana reported, her holographic displays showing a galaxy slowly shifting in color from Alliance blue to Foundation green. Mostly rim worlds and independent colonies, but we're seeing more core systems making inquiries. James nodded, studying the tactical display. The Alliance's response had been predictably bureaucratic: trade sanctions, diplomatic protests, and strongly worded declarations. All useless against an economy that no longer relied on their jump gate network. Status of Project Sanctuary? He asked, referring to the Foundation's most ambitious humanitarian effort. Exceeding projections, Diana smiled. The Zywanry refugee fleet has successfully established their new colony. Their bioengineering expertise, combined with our Aurora technology, has allowed them to terraform at unprecedented rates. The Zywanry had been one of the Alliance's greatest shames, a species whose homeworld was dying, denied assistance because their biological technology was deemed too unpredictable. The Foundation had welcomed them immediately. Sir, a junior officer called out, priority message from Director Chen. Sarah's hologram appeared, looking both excited and concerned. Admiral, we have a situation. The Meridian Collective just announced their intention to join the Foundation. All of them. James felt his eyebrows rise. The Meridians were one of the oldest spacefaring races, though their influence in the Alliance had waned due to their preference for scientific pursuit over political power. The entire collective? That's 17 core systems. Along with their research archives and technological database, Sarah confirmed. The Alliance Council is in emergency session. This could trigger a response beyond economic sanctions. Let them try, James replied, gesturing to his tactical display. The Aurora network gives us strategic mobility they can't match. And with the Meridian's defensive technology, we're not looking for a military confrontation, Sarah reminded him, though her expression suggested she'd already considered the tactical implications. But yes, this changes the balance of power significantly. The Meridians were one of the Alliance's founding members. A new alert flashed across the displays. Diana quickly scanned it, her eyes widening. "Sir, Director, we're detecting massive energy signatures from the Zionri colony. They're offering to share their complete biological engineering database with the Foundation." James exchanged looks with Sarah. The Zionri had kept their most advanced biotech secrets closely guarded for millennia. This was an unprecedented gesture of trust. "They say it's a thank you," Diana continued, reading the transmission, "for giving them a home when the Alliance wouldn't." Sarah's hologram showed her sitting down, the weight of the moment visible in her posture. "Do you realize what this means? Meridian quantum physics combined with Zionri biotech and human innovation. We're not just building an alternative to the Alliance," James finished. "We're creating something entirely new." The displays continued updating, showing more ships arriving through the Aurora network. Each vessel represented another crack in the Alliance's authority, another group choosing innovation over stagnation. "Director," James said, "an idea forming. I think it's time we showed the galaxy exactly what the Foundation represents. Not just a rebellion against the Alliance, but a genuine alternative. A place where species can grow without artificial limits." Sarah nodded slowly. "What did you have in mind?" "The Meridians have those massive solar engineering platforms they were never allowed to use. The Zionri have world-shaping biotech. We have Aurora technology. Let's do something impossible." He brought up a star chart, highlighting a system in unclaimed space. "There's a dead system here, a white dwarf with 12 frozen worlds. Let's bring it back to life. Not as a statement against the Alliance, but as a declaration of what's possible when we work together without restrictions." The idea spread through the command center, catching fire in the imagination of everyone present. This was why they had broken from the Alliance, not just for freedom from restrictions, but for the freedom to achieve the impossible. "Make it happen," Sarah ordered, her eyes bright with possibility. "Show the galaxy what cooperation really means." As the orders went out and ships began moving into position, James watched the streams of vessels continuing to arrive at Nexus Prime. The Alliance had feared human innovation would destabilize their carefully ordered galaxy. They had been right. But they had never imagined that destabilization could lead to something better. The tide was rising, and it would rush. The observation deck of the Foundation science vessel, Curiosity, offered a view that most beings in the galaxy would have considered impossible. Through the quantum-enhanced viewport, Chief Scientist Elena Vasquez watched as a dead star system came back to life. Massive Meridian solar platforms surrounded the white dwarf star, their crystalline structures channeling and amplifying its feeble light. Zionri world ships moved between the frozen planets, their biological terraforming systems already turning ice into oceans. And threading through it all, the golden pulses of Aurora technology, providing the energy to remake worlds. "Incredible," breathed Dr. Clara, the Meridian chief physicist. Their crystalline form sparkled with excitement patterns. "In all our years of theoretical work, we never imagined seeing it implemented on this scale." Elena smiled, remembering how the Meridians had initially approached human scientists with cautious skepticism. Now they worked together as if they'd been colleagues for centuries. The Alliance said this was impossible. That trying to rehabilitate a dead system would drain too many resources. The Alliance, Clara's tone carried what passed for irony in their species, calculates everything based on their understanding of physics. They never considered what might happen when different technologies work in harmony. On her neural display, Elena watched the progress reports flowing in. The third planet was already developing a breathable atmosphere, thanks to Zionri bioengineering. The Meridian solar platforms had increased the white dwarf's effective energy output by 300%. And Aurora technology kept it all supplied with virtually unlimited energy. Director Chin is arriving, her AI assistant notified her. Along with the Alliance observation team. That had been an interesting development. After 3 months of watching their influence erode, the Alliance had finally requested permission to observe the Foundation's work. They had expected to find chaos. Instead, They were about to witness a miracle. The Foundation diplomatic vessel emerged from an aurora flash, escorting a traditional Alliance cruiser. Elena could almost imagine the reactions of the Alliance observers as they saw what was happening to the dead system. "Begin the final phase," she ordered. "Let's show them exactly what cooperation can achieve." Across the system, the combined technologies reached their peak. The white dwarf's light strengthened, carefully controlled by Meridian engineering. Zionri bioships released clouds of engineered organisms that began transforming planetary surfaces at an cellular level. Human aurora arrays channeled energy exactly where it was needed. And slowly, impossibly, 12 dead worlds began to bloom. "Incoming transmission from the Alliance vessel," her AI reported. They're requesting permission to send over their scientific team. Their sensors are telling them this is impossible, and they want to see it firsthand. Elena exchanged looks with Clara. This was what they had been waiting for, not a military victory or economic dominance, but the moment when the Alliance's certainty in their own superiority began to crack. "Permission granted," she responded. "Have all research teams prepare their data for review." Full transparency. Within hours, the observation deck was crowded with Alliance scientists, their expressions ranging from disbelief to poorly concealed excitement as they reviewed the data. Elena watched as decades of certainty in Alliance superiority crumbled in the face of what cooperation could achieve. "This technology," one Alliance scientist muttered, reviewing the Zionri biological transformations, "we could have used this to save dozens of failing colonies." The Alliance said biological engineering on this scale was too dangerous, Elena reminded them gently. Just as they said Meridian solar engineering was too unstable and human innovation was too unpredictable. But look what happens when we remove those restrictions and work together. She gestured to the viewport, where another dead world was coming to life. This isn't just about proving the Alliance wrong. It's about showing the galaxy what's possible when we stop fearing progress. Her neural implant pinged with a priority message from Sarah Chin. The Alliance Council was an emergency session, responding to the reports from their observation team. The political implications of this demonstration were already sending shockwaves through Alliance space. But Elena's attention was on the scientists around her, Alliance, Foundation, human, alien, all watching in shared wonder as they rewrote the possible. This was humanity's real gift to the galaxy, not just innovation, but the courage to imagine something better. "Dr. Vasquez," Clara called out, their crystalline form pulsing with excitement. "The fourth planet's transformation is accelerating beyond predictions. The combined technologies are creating a cascade effect we never anticipated." Elena smiled, moving to examine the data. The Alliance had feared human unpredictability. They had never understood that unpredictability, combined with cooperation and courage, was exactly what the galaxy needed. The web of stars was expanding, not through force or fear, but through the simple power of showing what was possible when different species worked together without limits. And this was just the beginning. The Alliance Council chamber had never felt so empty. High Chancellor Kvax stared at the vacant seats, nearly a third of them now, each representing another world that had chosen to join the Foundation. The latest defection had been particularly painful, the Arxer Dominion, whose military power had helped maintain Alliance authority for centuries. "The motion to declare the Foundation a hostile entity has been defeated," their assistant announced, voice echoing in the chamber. 43% in favor, 57% against. Kvax's scales shifted to a deep blue of frustration. Even now, with their power structure crumbling, they couldn't muster enough support for direct action. The Foundation's demonstration of the restored star system had changed everything. "High Chancellor," a voice called out. Ambassador Lixta of the Centauri Confederation stepped forward. "I have been instructed to inform the Council of our decision." Kvax felt their secondary hearts skip a beat. The Centauri controlled a quarter of the Alliance's remaining trade routes. "Surely you're not." "We are not announcing our departure," Lixta said carefully. "We are proposing a third option. Open dialogue with the Foundation. Not as defeated rivals, but as potential partners." The chamber erupted in shocked whispers. For the Alliance to even consider negotiating with the Foundation would be an admission that their way wasn't the only path forward. On the central display, a new transmission appeared. Director Sarah Chen's familiar face looked out at the Council, composed as ever. Honorable representatives of the Alliance, we've received your request for dialogue. The Foundation accepts. Quacks rose to their full height. You orchestrated this entire situation. The technological demonstration, the economic pressure, all of it designed to force us into this position. Sarah's smile was diplomatic. With respect, High Chancellor, we simply showed the galaxy what was possible when different species work together without artificial constraints. The choices made by your member worlds were their own. And now you think we'll simply surrender to your authority? Quacks demanded. No, Sarah replied. We're offering something the Alliance never considered, partnership without dominance. Look at your screens. The chamber's displays filled with data from the restored star system. But now they showed something new, projections of how the same technology could be applied to struggling Alliance worlds. We don't want to replace the Alliance, Sarah continued. We want to show you a better way forward. Together. Ambassador Lixtaw stepped forward again. The Centauri have reviewed the Foundation's preliminary proposals. They're offering to help us restore 3 of our failing colony worlds. No conditions, no demands for authority. Simply cooperation. Quacks watched as more representatives began reviewing the data, their expressions shifting from skepticism to cautious hope. The Alliance had maintained power through control and restriction. The Foundation was offering power through collaboration and shared growth. There are conditions, Quacks said sharply. There must be. Only one, Sarah confirmed. The elimination of artificial restrictions on technological and social development. No more holding species back because we fear their potential. No more sacrificing worlds because we're afraid of change. In the back of the chamber, a group of younger representatives had already begun discussing the possibilities. Quacks could hear their excitement, the same excitement that had led so many worlds to join the Foundation. And if we refuse, they asked, already knowing the answer. Sarah's expression remained diplomatic, but her eyes held steel. Then you'll watch as more worlds choose a future of possibility over one of restriction. The Foundation doesn't need to fight you, High Chancellor. We simply need to continue showing the galaxy what's possible. Quacks looked around the chamber, at the empty seats and the excited whispers, at centuries of tradition crumbling in the face of demonstrated possibility. They had feared human unpredictability would destabilize the galaxy. They had been right. But they had never imagined that destabilization could lead to something better. The Council will need time to deliberate, Quacks announced, their scales shifting to the pale green of resignation. Of course, Sarah nodded. In the meantime, we're extending an open invitation to your scientific community. Come see what we're building. Participate. Learn. Share. As the transmission ended, Quacks watched their carefully ordered world continuing to transform. The Alliance had spent centuries trying to prevent change. Now change had come anyway, not through force or conquest, but through the simple act of showing a better way. The Great Shift wasn't just political, it was philosophical. And there would be no going back. 1 year after the Great Shift, the galaxy gathered to witness something unprecedented. The newly constructed Unity Station, a massive structure combining human aurora technology, meridian crystalline architecture, and Zhyan biological engineering, hosted representatives from every spacefaring civilization, both Foundation and Alliance. Sarah Chen stood at the central podium, looking out at faces that represented thousands of worlds. Behind her, through the station's quantum-enhanced windows, the restored star system shone as a testament to what cooperation could achieve. A year ago, she began, we stood divided. The Alliance feared change, while the Foundation embraced it. Today, we stand at the threshold of a new era, not as rivals, but as partners in the greatest adventure our species have ever undertaken. High Chancellor Quacks, their scales now showing the deep gold of optimism, rose to join her. The Alliance was founded on the principle of stability through control. We believed this was the only way to prevent chaos. The humans showed us another path, stability through shared growth. The station's displays activated, showing projects across the galaxy where once separate technologies now worked in harmony. Dead worlds coming back to life. New forms of faster-than-light travel combining Aurora technology with Alliance jump gates. Zionry biotech merging with Meridian crystal engineering to create living stations that could repair themselves. The Galactic Cooperative, Sarah announced, speaking the new name for the first time, will not restrict or control. We will coordinate and support. Every species, every world, free to develop at their own pace while sharing their discoveries with all. Dr. Elena Vasquez, watching from her position among the Earth delegation, felt a surge of pride. The transformation had been more complete than anyone had imagined. The Alliance hadn't just accepted change, they had embraced it, contributing centuries of experience to balance humanity's drive for innovation. Our first joint project, Kvax announced, will be the restoration of the Zionry homeworld. The displays showed the dying planet, once denied help due to political fears. Using combined technologies and shared expertise, we will demonstrate what unity truly means. The chamber erupted in applause, a cacophony of sounds from hundreds of different species. Elena saw Alliance scientists chatting excitedly with Foundation engineers, sharing ideas that would have been restricted just a year ago. In orbit around Unity Station, a fleet gathered, ships of all designs and origins, no longer separated by political boundaries. Admiral Torres had reorganized them into a joint exploration force, dedicated to pushing the boundaries of known space. We feared humanity would destabilize the galaxy, Kvax continued, their scales shimmering. We were right. They showed us that some things need to be destabilized to grow into something better. Sarah nodded, looking out at the assembled representatives of a united galaxy. Earth was banned from the Council because we moved too fast, innovated too quickly, thought too differently. Those same traits helped us build something new, not just for humanity, but for all species who dream of something more. The displays shifted again, showing the edge of known space. The combined fleet was preparing for its first mission, exploring regions that neither the Alliance nor Foundation could have reached alone. New worlds, new possibilities, new horizons to explore together. This is not an ending, Sarah declared, her voice carrying to every corner of the station. This is a beginning. The start of an age where we all reach for the stars together, uninhibited by fear, unrestricted by artificial limits. As if in response, the restored star system flared with new light, its renewed energy a beacon for the future they were building. Humanity had been rejected for being too innovative, too quick to change, too eager to push boundaries. Those same qualities had transformed rejection into the greatest opportunity the galaxy had ever known. They had built something greater than an empire. They had built a future where every species could reach its full potential. The new dawn had arrived, and its light would reach every corner of the galaxy, illuminating not just what was possible, but what they could achieve together. In the end, humanity's greatest contribution wasn't technology or innovation. It was showing the galaxy that the future belonged to those brave enough to imagine something better and work together to make it real.